In order to create a healthy relationship, it's worth everyone's time to look at what domestic abuse is and how best we ensure it does not come into any of your relationships. Domestic abuse is defined as incidents of threatening behavior, violence, or abuse. These incidences can be physical, sexual, or mental abuse. They can be between intimate partners or family members, and can happen to men or women. The risk of domestic abuse can increase when the person responsible is unhappy, stressed, is experiencing financial problems, or has drug or alcohol problems. There are now laws to protect people from not only domestic violence, but also for long periods of mental abuse, controlling behavior, and stalking. With the growing awareness of what domestic abuse is, we can all help to reduce the risk of being a victim or a perpetrator. If we address problems early on, then we can stop the problems from growing and causing more harm and unhappiness. If ignored, domestic abuse tends to increase the number of incidents and the seriousness of the events. So let's have a look at what domestic abuse is. The power and control wheel is a tool used to explain domestic abuse. It has different segments which detail the different types of abuse. Around the wheel, you see the words, physical abuse. It is a pattern of actions that an individual uses to control or dominate his intimate partner intentionally. These behaviors are the spokes of the wheel. Physical and sexual violence holds it all together. Coercion and threats, making or carrying out threats to do something to hurt the other person and making them do something they don't want to do. Threatening violence, threatening to commit suicide or hurt themselves if the person leaves. Saying you will report the other person to the authorities or make up lies to hurt them. Threatening to hurt or kill the person if they leave. Threatening to take the children. Making the other person drop charges. Making the other person do illegal things like drugs. These are all threats that can have a huge negative impact on both people in a relationship. A person cannot be in a happy place in their own self if they need to do this to their partner. Intimidation. Making the other person afraid by using looks, actions, and gestures. Smashing things. Destroying the other person's property. Abusing pets. Displaying weapons. It can be terrifying to live with this kind of abuse, and the person doing this cannot really achieve happiness due to feeling guilty or ashamed. Emotional abuse. Putting the other person down. Making the other person think they're crazy. Playing mind games. Humiliating the other person. Making them feel guilty. Is one of the most common types of domestic abuse in relationships. It can happen in relationships where there's no violence, but can still be very harmful to a person. Ultimately, a person that feels the need to put their partner down cannot feel good about themselves. It's a sign of insecurity that a person acts in this way. Isolation is keeping the person away from everyone and making them dependent on you. Controlling what the other person does, who they see and talk to, what they read, where they go. Limiting their outside involvement. Using jealousy to justify their actions. Making a partner feel isolated is usually a sign of a person who's very insecure and wants full control over their partner, so they don't leave. No one in a relationship can be happy if this is going on. The person isolating the victim will be constantly stressed and focusing on controlling the victim instead of working on making their relationship a happy one. Minimizing, denying, and blaming to avoid taking responsibility for their behavior and shifting the focus so they don't have to face their behavior. This is common in domestic abuse and can include the following: making light of the abuse and not taking their concerns about it seriously, saying the abuse didn't happen, shifting responsibility for abusive behavior, saying the other person caused it. Using children. Children can too often be used as a weapon in a relationship, which can hurt everyone in the family. This abuse may include making the other person feel guilty because of the children, using the children to relay messages, using visitation to harass the other person, threatening to take the child away. Using privilege. Being privileged and using it to expect the other person to do things for you. Privilege could be thinking a woman should serve a man, or that you are in some way entitled to different rules or treatment because you're privileged. Treating someone like a servant, making all the big decisions, acting like the master of the castle, being the one to define the roles in the relationship. A truly happy relationship will negotiate equal roles, which ensures no one feels they are below the other due to their gender or any other privilege. Economic abuse. This involves the control of the couple's money, which can be very serious as it takes away a person's freedom and causes isolation. Preventing the other person from getting or keeping a job, making them ask for money, giving the other person an allowance, taking their money, not letting the other person know about or have access to the family income. Learning about the power and control wheel can help you to become more aware of your behavior. You can take more responsibility and think about where you've been controlling. This can be vital to avoid any domestic abuse in your relationship. It is also vital to avoid domestic abuse if you want to be happy. No one that abuses another person is happy in themselves. A strong, confident person will want to be in a relationship that is equal and where both people are happy, so you can enjoy a good life together. The healthy relationship equality version of this wheel is the opposite of the power and control wheel. So in summary, you can see from the wheel, there are lots of examples of different types of domestic abuse. All are forms of controlling behavior. Take a look at the wheel in your workbook and complete the exercise. Whether you think you may have been abusive yourself, or if you've been a victim, or even if you feel you've been on both sides, write down how you've been affected by domestic abuse and where you can improve your behavior or protect yourself. If you feel the need to talk to anyone about this further, there are some helplines in the back of your workbook. And you could also talk to your support workers about getting some counseling or advice.